Jobs. Power Combo BOGO? Huh?
Yes, if you purchase an air conditioner, you receive a furnace completely free. At John Henry's, our professionals want to ensure you are comfortable in your home all year long, no matter what Nebraska has to throw at us. Call today to schedule your free estimate and learn more about the free furnace waiting for you. Give John Henry's a call today.
435-5555. John Henry's Plumbing, Heating and Air.
And electrical.
This is Lincoln's home for sports talk on the FM dial. Also online at theticketfm.com.
On the internet.
KNTK FM Firth, 93.7 The Ticket. This isn't any regular heat. This is nuclear heat. Live from the 93.7 The Ticket studios in the heart of Lincoln, America. Bringing you the latest from the Square Circle on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com. Here is your host, Jake Bakovic.
We are back for Nuclear Heat here on 93.7 The Ticket. It has been a few weeks since we've been on, but we figured since Clash of the Castle just took place and a huge debut that everybody's been waiting for on Monday Night Raw, we might as well jump in and get Nuclear Heat rolling again. My apologies for the time off, I do have to say. I did deal with a personal problem, so I had to take a few weeks away, step away from wrestling and sports, which is my normal job. And you see my Boston Celtics hat up here if you're watching on the Start of Hearing video or Drewer's video stream. I thought maybe we could just take this time to sit and talk about all my favorite Celtics that have led up to this championship, but I figured that's more for me. Augie, you'd rather talk some wrestling, right?
You know, congratulations to your Celtics. So it must be nice to have an NBA team that can win a championship, though. I'll say that I've been waiting 30 years to see one of my two teams win one, so maybe I'll get lucky one day.
It'll happen. It definitely it'll happen. It took me my team long enough. It's been since I was in high school since the Celtics won, but they've always been competitive.
Yeah,
and so I appreciate that. I always like those lists of like Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown's been in like 170 games. And I'm just sitting there like, how much time have I spent watching the playoffs? Because I don't miss hardly any. And it was a bit of juggling, you know, the TV. Love the DVR because it was a jam-packed Monday Night Raw along with my Celtics getting the banner 18. So it was a little bit of fun there to try to do that. But it was a great week in wrestling, no doubt. They continue to have fantastic crowds and just showings at pay-per-views, premium live events, as they call it now, overseas, this time in Glasgow, Scotland. And they really built the card around that. So we can kind of get to that. Lots of interesting things going on at that. And then my favorite and one of the more underrated, I think, wrestling shows to look forward to is immediately after a pay-per-view, because I think those first ones after those premium live events, you get to see the new feuds. As we saw, you know, oftentimes it's time to debut a new character and just kind of see where they are headed for the next premium live event. And we got a bit of an indication with that. So we'll get into some of the championship battles, Damian Priest and Drew McIntyre, Cody Rhodes and AJ Styles here in a bit. But we don't want to bury the lead. And that was what closed Monday Night Raw last night. We've been waiting for it. The introduction of Uncle Howdy and the Wyatt Six, which there are 5 of them, so keep up here. But in any case, it was very interesting. It happened immediately after Jey Uso punched his ticket to Money in the Bank. Should mention that Money in the Bank, the next premium live event, one of my favorite ones. So it's just a great time if you haven't been, you know, into wrestling lately. I think they're heating it up based on last night's Monday Night Raw. And the big question is, who are these monsters? Who is Uncle Howdy and his group of monsters going to go after? What is going to be the major feud, the major angle there? Right now, it looks like they're just taking over WWE. But let me just say this, because this is what happened. Of course, Uncle Howdy, this whole thing is a tribute to Bray Wyatt, who passed away and you know, had this kind of Uncle Howdy character upon his latest return. And unfortunately, again, passed away. And so, you know, you kind of do this thing of waiting around long enough, and then, you know, you want to pay tribute to him. And I just thought they did a fantastic job. The Wyatt Six, for what it's worth, include all his characters. They're all kind of masks of the characters that he used to have. And then, of course, his brother Bo Dallas leading the group as Uncle Howdy, who I thought they also changed his look, which I think was needed. The past version of Uncle Howdy just didn't look like he was ever going to fit right in the ring. They kind of gave him some dreadlocks this time. Again, tribute to Bray Wyatt. So again, you kind of have to dance around a lot of things in a situation like this. And I thought they pulled it off spectacularly.
Yeah, no, I thought it was great. Like you said, there's been a huge buildup. The QR codes that have been showing up, kind of the dimming of the lights all the time. Kind of bringing that. What I love, from like the 90s, early 2000s is kind of that horror, in the WWE, because, the WWE is great because it can bring a lot of things together. And I agree with you. I thought that was a crazy debut. Everybody, we've been waiting for it for months. And man, did they, I would say since probably the Shield, that's one of the best, faction debuts I've seen. Just the carnage, the characters. Yeah. And the thing I love about it is, the internet nowadays kind of help us know who's behind the mask, but it's a lot of wrestlers that have kind of paid their dues. It's kind of lesser known possible wrestlers that, haven't had that, and they're going to be together. And you can just tell, as long as Triple H, and the WWE really can keep this story live, hot right now, and keep it as one of the main things out there. I think great things are going to happen.
Yeah, it's almost like going back to the horror movie part. And that's what made Bray Wyatt so spectacular is, you kind of went through this era. I know they had the Boogeyman. I mean, they had some things kind of post Undertaker Kane in the 90s where these characters were kind of who wrestling was. And then, there was kind of this shift of, okay, we kind of needed to be real. Any of those kind of characters are going to kind of come off as cheesy. And so you kind of went with the PG era and kind of typical, still not maybe exactly themselves, but John Cena, Randy Orton types that, are just guys and they've got their own stories, but they're not, there's not demons or anything that goes along with it. And a lot of attempts at such characters failed spectacularly. Not that they always hadn't, a lot of these guys, you have to go through your gimmicks to try to find one that finally works. But I always thought that Bray Wyatt was kind of the best supernatural character, if you will, since Undertaker and Kane. And so there's this huge obstacle of trying to, I mean, we talked about all just like doing the right stuff by Bray Wyatt, but then the next thing is to be, I mean, he was the only one that was kind of able to do it since then. And so you use his ideas, but you how are you going to do it in a way that gets this group over? And for what it's worth too, WWE Creative has a lot to do with this as well as we move forward, because Bray Wyatt's characters, as great as they were, and I loved Bray Wyatt's, especially the Wyatt family. The Fiend was a lot of fun, but WWE would get in the way so often. One of the worst book matches of all time is The Fiend losing at Hell in a Cell to Seth Rollins by disqualification. The Fiend was supposed to be supernatural monster, couldn't be beat. And Seth Rollins was beating him so bad, you remember the announcer saying, you got to remember there's a man under that mask. And it just took away everything that the Fiend kind of had built up. And that was just one of the worst booking decisions ever. It's a pay-per-view I'll always remember, because as they left, showing the logos and all that, the crowd was booing. Like they at the time were thinking, this is BS. So you kind of got to be careful. And then the next part that's interesting about this is, as you mentioned, the characters that are involved here, like you said, are not top of the card type of characters, to include Bo Dallas. And he's got to be kind of the middle grounds of this. But when you look at who they attacked and the names that are, you like Gunther back there, potentially Cody Rhodes, Triple H, even Dom, who's in his storylines, Chad Gable, but specifically like a Gunther or a Cody Rhodes, which again, we have to kind of wait and see. It's blurry. It's hard to see exactly who's in there. It's hard to at this point kind of think of Bo Dallas or Uncle Howdy battling those guys in a ring, which is eventually what you want to get to. But I think they're going to take their time to eventually get there. One thing I am a little bit worried about is that they have done this before. Basically, this is a PG or I said rated R, I suppose, version of Retribution. And Retribution tried to take over WWE. They had their own, and that was a disaster.
I think this one's going to be a little bit better because Triple H, Triple H is kind of behind it here. And we'll just say this also. The WWE's contract with USA Network is expiring and they're going to Netflix. And I think that's the best thing for the Uncle Howdy, because everything coming. It's WWE right now. Raw at least is a long way from the PG. Especially with the Dom and the Liv stuff, and then now you have this a lot of blood.
A lot
everywhere.
of blood there, yeah.
Which is very surprising. So I think, as you said, they're going to take it very slow, and then I bet you I bet you fans are going to get a little irritated, because they're going to do, attack people. You won't see an Uncle Howdy match probably for, I'd say, like 6 months, possibly. They could build it up like that. And then as soon as, the Raw moves over to Netflix, they're really going to be able to do whatever they want there, get creative. And I think that's, when you'll finally see all of that there. But man, like I said, that I didn't expect the Raw, which was great. I will say that I think this is the best Raw post WrestleMania that we've had, just in general with everything. But man, that ending was just great. I thought it was like, it's another QR code, here we go. And then nope, they pan back and it's, they've taken out everybody. And essentially, people were saying, Chad Gable is no longer with us, like the way, the way he was just, state there. He had a bad night. And then to end it there. And yeah, like you said, Gunther, Carmelo Hayes, Dominic, potentially Cody Rhodes. I mean, those are the biggest players in the WWE that they just took out. So, I am curious to see, where they go with this, kind of who the feud is, who they're going to attack and cost. Cause this is coming at Money in the Bank, SummerSlam. I mean, two, as you said, two pretty big premium live events here. They're going to potentially cost somebody a shot, and I'm expecting to see somebody get dragged, under the through the ring, kind of a scary movie, kind of like what the Fiend did a couple times. We'll see that happen. And another one I'm looking forward to is them to, they have 5. Who's going to be that 6th? Alexa Bliss, because I don't think she's a character right now. We've been waiting for her to come back, and she was with the Fiend. So they have a lot of things they can still do with this. And the WWE, what is it? X Twitterverse. I'll still call it Twitterverse, was, going crazy last night. So, good thing for them, and hopefully they keep it going.
Yeah. Again, it looks like Bo Dallas as Uncle Howdy, Nikki Cross as Sister Abigail, which is great to see. Eric Rowan comes back, making his appearance, of course, from the original Wyatt family. And he kind of gives you the giant presence. Maybe they never pushed him, but he can become a monster behind a mask in his new character. Joey Gacy and Dexter Loomis are the other ones believed to be involved in this Wyatt 6 group, which again took over WWE Raw at the end and left a lot of people bloodied. Again, I don't know if they're necessarily okay or where you necessarily go from here. And that's the best thing to do in wrestling, is leave people questioning and leave them wanting to see more. And most people are into it. Again, there's all sorts of types of wrestling, and this is kind of the supernatural side, scary movie side. Some people will find it cheesy, and it's going to be difficult to stay on that line before going into cheesy. And that's the obstacle that's in front of WWE. But if you can make it, like you said, more thriller movie, more horror movie, and less wrestling, to be honest. I think once these guys finally get in a ring, in a traditional wrestling match, kind of takes away from like, well, it was the same thing with Retribution. It's like at some point you guys are supposed to take over WWE. You're doing all this stuff, and then you eventually just agree, okay, we'll do a match. With the
that they got to be careful with that. Just how about this? Don't have any of them talk. You know what I mean? Just be silent characters. Kind of just keep us in suspense for that. Like you said, that's the best thing they can do, because sometimes it is, the people behind the mask that kind of ruin it for them too. But I think we all saw with Retribution that wasn't gonna go anywhere when they dropped their names. T-Bar and Mace and whatever.
Slapjack. Was that one of them?
My gosh, yes, Flapjack or whatever you call them. And when that happens, they're not going to be taken serious. So, but with this one, they have something, run with it. And honestly, they needed it, because Clash of the Castle was great, I thought, but post Roman Reigns, post WrestleMania, it was starting to really go downhill. And now SummerSlam is a month away, 2 months away essentially. This is a time where you kind of write it back up. We kind of get the views back, because it's good. Because I will tell you, SmackDown and Raw have been kind of hard to watch the last few episodes and things like that. So got to keep it going. Just got to go with a hot hand here.
7809 chimes in. It was a 10. It crushed me. Or I was 10. It crushed me. So I don't know, maybe one way or the other. I think they enjoyed it. And you can chime in, by the way, Sarda Heyman Jura's video stream as well. Sarda Heyman Jura's Text line 402-464-5685 if you want to join into the thoughts. So also, what's going to help in as we transition a little bit is getting your stars back, and Seth Rollins being back in the mix. Again, it's so weird with this character that it's hard to describe to somebody, especially now. He's kind of moved away from the Messiah stuff. He kind of moved away from the Joker stuff. He's just a guy that has a song, I suppose. But he reminds me, and he's so over with the crowd, and was once again last night. It just kind of feels like maybe like a Macho Man to the Hulk Hogan, if that's Roman's spot, I suppose, in this modern WWE.
Yeah, and I agree with that. And everybody was kind of tired of seeing him, when he was here last, because he was on every single show. But that just shows you how great he is, because he's only been gone 2 months, or so, and everybody needed him back. And then he comes back last night. No announcement, just a straight surprise, and all that stuff. And the place just goes crazy. And I, was happy. I was like, yes. And the fact that he's going right back into a feud with Damian Priest, for the World Heavyweight Championship, I thought that was perfection. That's what I mean, is like, they're bringing, like you said, they're bringing all the players back, and it's exactly what they needed. And with Rollins, he can play that fine line, in between. I don't agree with his outfit choices. They're still crazy. I don't know what that was last night.
I like that he wore a hat, because there was a rumor that he cut his hair.
Yeah.
Which didn't end up to be true, I guess.
Yeah, on that. And I was very surprised he came back so soon, because, his real life wife, Becky Lynch, just went on her breaks, so I thought they were going to take some time off. But, when the WWE needs somebody to come back, Seth Rollins is Mr. Reliable, bring him back. But I thought that was great, a really good way to get Raw going. And like I said, get that feud with Damian Priest. And, now this is Damian's, maybe first real challenger, that I know Drew was great there too, but you kind of saw what was going to happen there. But, Seth Rollins could possibly take that title back away.
Well, and that's the interesting part. I thought I liked it because they had the Money in the Bank. And if he would have declared himself for Money in the Bank, there's kind of two thoughts there that kind of split me. One is Money in the Bank is supposed to be for somebody that's not otherwise going to be able to just get in the ring and say, I want to, challenge for the championship. So they kind of made up for that. But because of his history with Money in the Bank, it would have been fun, and it will be fun at some point. And I think they'll go this route at some point, just because it's printing money, is just to get him another briefcase at some point, so they can, play around with that and say he's going to cash in, because he has the most famous cash in, of course, at all time at WrestleMania against Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns. But to have Priest come in and kind of give that respect was good. And to immediately, I mean, it's a match again with Rollins. He doesn't really have to go through and earn it to be able to be on that point in the card. So I guess it works out, certainly, to kind of sell tickets and to get this next feud rolling. How do you feel about Damian Priest? I thought there was a little bit too much truth there. Sometimes, when you're talking trash, it's good. It gets heat on the characters. But Rollins started to talk about how, he had to break away from the help that he had at one point in his career to stand on his 2 feet. And Damian Priest, they're kind of aiming the same thing. But at this point, I feel like Damian Priest is much better with Judgment Day intact, to include, well, what's Finn Balor going to do? And what's going on? You don't have to keep them all peachy and they're all friends all the time. But I think Judgment Day is way more over than Damian Priest himself. And he's still struggling a bit, whether it be on the mic. I took a spill in the ring the other day, on the ropes. He just is struggling a bit coming off as the top guy in the company. Yeah.
And, I would say his title reign's okay. I don't think it's memorable. It's all right. He's doing the best he can. But I think the WWE is failing him just simply because the Judgment Day are just taking L after L. Finn Balor. Finn Balor was one of the top stars, being pushed, and he still, has that ability. When was the last time he won a match? It's something like that. So I think if the Judgment Day were back on top, winning, kind of doing their things, not just being like a behind the scenes, this riff with Liv Morgan and things, I think you'd want to keep him there. But, I don't know. What I've been intrigued by what he's been doing, because, he has been winning matches essentially by himself, well, CM Punk helped him on Saturday, but, outside of that, he doesn't want interference by the Judgment Day, because he wants to show it. And, he has the potential. He does need some help on the mic, because, some of his delivery is a little flat, but I think that comes with time on there. And, I don't know. I could see it either way for him. I would like him to kind of be solo on there, or create, a new faction that's just not full of guys that are just going to job to everybody. That's kind of been the thing that kind of kills me with the Judgment Day right now, is they're still popular. They still get a pop, great heel faction, but man, when was the last time anybody besides Damien got a win? It just, and Rhea, obviously, who's out right now. It just doesn't happen. So, if they were strong, keep them. But right now, I think you just gotta move on, and do it yourself.
And it's been a major miss because Dom has been, is so over with the crowd as far as getting booed. Like, has the nuclear heat on him. He should have been, he should be, or should have been, getting cheap victories. Kind of be the squirmish heel that gets help from the Judgment Day to move up the card, and they just haven't done that with him. And I think that would elevate what they're currently doing with Liv. And then I thought it was a major miss last night. I know everybody loves Jey Uso and what he does with the crowd and all that, and they could have still had him in the Money in the Bank match. But I thought it would have been just pure entertainment for Finn Balor to have a spot in the Money in the Bank match. And then you're still kind of learning about the rifts in the Judgment Day and what might happen if he wins. You don't even have to give it to him. But just even within that match, it would be more exciting if, here he is. He's climbing the ladder. Is this setting up for, a turn on Priest and Judgment Day? I just think that's a major miss. They teased it for a bit to kind of get you more interested in the Monday Night Raw match. I thought it would have been good overall to get it going. And maybe that's just, I'm kind of like you. I'm a big Finn Balor fan. I mean, I think despite his size, with this coup de grace and the the other character that he gets into, it's somewhat believable. I mean, he can go, and they haven't been able to kind of. They could have, and I think with this group should have all along kind of built them up stronger, rather than just kind of have him getting closer and closer to JD McDonough and Dominic Mysterio, like you said, who are just glorified jobbers on that group.
Yeah, and I'm gonna kind of go off of this. I am tired of Jey Uso. I don't. Like you said, other than getting the crowd super hype with his cheesy, corny 2017, stuff that he's doing, like I get it, it's entertainment, it's fun, but I just don't see it. The guy only has one move. He super kicks. He super kicks you 1,500 times, and that's pretty much it. So I don't get why they keep giving him chance after chance. I mean, they kind of ruined that opportunity, when he and his brother faced, and it was a dud. I think that was kind of, all right, this Jey Uso run should be over, and he's had like 2 or 3 title shots. He keeps getting push after push, and I don't get it. I'm sorry. I know I was a big fan of it. I liked it. I thought it was fun, but now I'm just like, it's not entertaining to me anymore. And I know that's tough to say because he's still doing a good job. Like you said, it's an entertainment business, and he's doing that with his entrance. But I mean, the super kick that, he's ruined the super kick, and then he's the one that tries to spear too at times, right?
Yeah, he's
that
really
spear
bad
is
spear.
horrible.
Yeah.
And he's not built to do a spear. Like, honestly, he's not a built wrestler. He's a wrestler that looks like he likes to eat like I do. We really just eat anything. And to try to have him do just something like that, I don't know. I just think
he's not big enough. Yeah.
No, for a spear like Braun Breaker, that's a spear. Roman Reigns, that's a spear. Those are guys that do spears, not somebody who's our height, our build. If I go and try to spear somebody, I'm going to do more damage to myself. So that's kind of why it's But that's the crazy thing about wrestling. Is the make believe about it, that this could happen. But I just, sorry, I'm going on a little bit of a rant here. I just wasn't happy with that, because Finn Balor, even Rey Mysterio, I think could have done better in that. And like you said, they could create storylines. Finn Balor in. Why don't they do something interesting like Dominic and Finn Balor qualified? Now they're both in Money in the Bank. Then you have this big rift in there, and let's say, you can run through many storylines, and I know Dom's, busy living the best life right now, with that Liv storyline out there. But man, they're missing chances with it. And to go back on, the whole Damian Priest thing, he has everything there. It's just, man, they're kind of failing him. Whereas Triple H, with Uncle Howdy, kind of a couple other stories they're doing, it's been great. They're missing still on things, and they need to really improve on that. Because I would say, we're kind of diehards, right? A little bit on that. Yeah. We kind of see that, and I think they need to pick it up a little bit more because it's getting better, but it's still a little bit flat with things like that.
By the way, 7809, I want to apologize because I didn't see your first text. So what he said is, I loved wrestling every single Monday night for 2 years. Then Goldberg, my top tier wrestler, was beat by a Punk for his first loss. Never turned on wrestling again. I was 10 and it crushed me. Well, fair enough, but at least you've got that. I always say it's tough to become a pro wrestling fan if you didn't like it, at least for a little bit as a child.
Yeah.
So at least you've got that. You've got something to go back on, a very nostalgic type of feelings that maybe can get you drawn back in. This is Nuclear Heat here on 93.7 The Ticket. We've got to take a quick break here, and we'll be back, and we'll talk more about Clash at the Castle from Glasgow, Scotland, and WWE Raw last night. Coming up right next here after the break on 93.7 The Ticket.
Your business runs like a well-oiled machine. It's important that your actual machines do too. Stern is here to make sure you don't have to worry about that. They provide solutions for heavy equipment and automotive fuels, lubricants, and equipment guard options. And with Stern's commitment to customer service for the past 40 years, you know you have a partner to help support your operations for years to come. Contact Roger Stern Company by calling 1-800-477-2744 or visit them online at stern.co. Stern Company, where problems meet solvers.
Are you looking to upgrade your farm equipment? You're in luck. Acres, your premier John Deere dealer, recently dropped its prices on select late model tractors, combines, planters, and sprayers. Trade in your old equipment today and get never before seen discounts that can save you over $100,000. With great financing options and our A+ support, there's no better time to upgrade. Visit your local Acres store or see the huge savings at acres.com. That's AKRS.com to see the best prices in the nation.
Your home is your empire. Protect it with Empire Fence. Get a free instant quote with the online estimating tool at empire-fence.com. See an upfront estimate with no hidden fees. An Empire Fence can provide privacy and improve the appearance of your home. Keep kids and pets in or out of your yard. Increase security and add value to your property. Visit empire-fence.com now to view the stylish and maintenance-free possibilities for your home and get a free instant online quote. Let Empire Fence protect your empire.
Power combo BOGO? Huh?
Yes, if you purchase an air conditioner, you receive a furnace completely free. At John Henry's, our professionals want to ensure you are comfortable in your home all year long, no matter what Nebraska has to throw at us. Call today to schedule your free estimate and learn more about the free furnace waiting for you. Give John Henry's a call today.
435-5555. John Henry's Plumbing, Heating and Air.
And electrical.
Garage doors can be expensive. Are you keeping yours in the best condition possible? This is Cameron Hall with Doors Plus. Doors Plus is a locally owned business that prides itself on the fast, reliable, and friendly service. Doors Plus offers flexible scheduling so you can book an appointment that fits your busy day. My team and I will come out to your property, both commercial and residential, and provide you with the necessary information you need to make sure your garage door is in working and smooth condition. Give Doors Plus a call today at 402-590-5800 to book an appointment and learn more about our preventative maintenance plans. Doors Plus, garage doors, and more.
Back to Nuclear Heat with your host, Jake Bakoven, on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
I am Jake Bakoven here from the 93.7 The Ticket Studios. Augie Pena, Nuclear Heat contributor, along with me tonight as we are breaking down the latest week in wrestling, Clash at the Castle from Glasgow, Scotland. And, of course, we spent a lot of that time talking about the debut of the new group, the Wyatt Six, last night on Monday Night Raw. We'll get to Monday Night Raw here in a second, but we first have got to get to Clash at the Castle. Cody Rhodes and AJ Styles in an I Quit match. Ends after a beatdown from AJ Styles, even knocking Cody Rhodes unconscious seemingly at one point, to Cody Rhodes getting the victory by tying AJ Styles in the corner and bringing the stairs in the ring and threatening to hit them with it. I thought this was kind of interesting, a good matchup. Of course, the second match of this series, I suppose, so far. And in my mind, hopefully the last one. I don't know where AJ necessarily goes from here, but I'm kind of ready for something new. For what it was worth, I Quit matches are cool because, you can just pile on the violence, and they did that here.
Yeah, they did. I really didn't like the ending there, though. Like, AJ's, I guess there really wasn't a heel, but AJ's supposed to be the heel of it, and he's tied up in the corner. Cody's about to hit him, and he's like, I quit. And then Cody throws it at him anyways. So I thought that was kind of a really weak move, to end it. Because I thought it was a good match, and they put on two good matches. I wasn't a fan of that,
For
man.
a brief second, I was like, "Is Cody turning heel now?" And no,
No,
it wasn't. It was just kind of he's had enough, and so maybe it was the extra shot to say, "Hey, I'm done with you," which would be welcome to me at this point.
I mean, I'd be honest with you. A Cody Rhodes heel turn, I wouldn't be opposed to that.
Wild,
I
yeah.
mean, I'm getting. I mean, you know what the Twitterverse is saying out there. His babyface run is getting kind of stale. You know, he's not John Cena. You know, can't be a babyface forever. Turn it around, make him kind of a heel. You know, see people aren't loving his reign. I mean, I think that, and then bring back the big dog Roman Reigns as a babyface. I mean, I'm available for hire WWE. So, you know, I
There
mean,
you go,
you know, we could do that.
Well,
so.
I think at some point, and you kind of just have to get through. It's the problem is that you're going to have to get to SummerSlam, and maybe they can set it up, you know, because Summer's just around the corner, or the next WrestleMania is you've got The Rock and Roman Reigns, both of them or each of them waiting in the wings at some point to fight Cody Rhodes. So anybody else he's fighting, you're going to know the ending. It's just kind of how you get through to it. And so I think that's going to hurt his run as a top man in the company. But to be fair, it's kind of the same with Roman Reigns. I mean, we knew that was headed that way. There were so many feuds he had that was just kind of like, okay, you're getting through it. The challenge is to make it entertaining. And at very belief flashes make you think, okay, maybe they're going to go a different way here. That's going to be hard to do. So we'll kind of see. Again, an I Quit match, I think, covers up for a little bit of the fact that if it was kind of bland or you weren't quite into the storyline, you get plenty of violence to make up for it. So I thought they did that. Then we had Belair and Cargill against Fire and Dawn and Baszler and Stark. Fire and Dawn were added to this match, I thought, to just kind of give Glasgow, Scotland a hometown crew to cheer for. Belair and Cargill, of course, just starting with the title. You thought maybe they would raise the women's tag team championship. It was a good moment. Fire and Dawn get the win, get the pin over Baszler and Stark. You know, it was wildly over, obviously, in Glasgow, Scotland. There's just a lot of thoughts that you go on to the next thing there is, you know, what happens with Belair and Cargill. And the other thing is, I just, you know, I for years, they've been hurting the women's tag team division. I don't think that this necessarily helps it either.
Yeah, no, it doesn't. And, you know, it was a fine match, but man, Cargill had a couple botches in there too. That just didn't look great. Looked really bad.
And was she supposed to, like, she was tapping and the ref was that so, part of it?
No, I don't think it was.
Or she couldn't breathe, maybe.
You know, maybe it was because, you know, Shayna Baszler has that UFC you know, background in there. Maybe she was actually choking her out or something in there. But you know, that's been around too. And it might be part of a storyline where, you know, Baszler and Stark, you know, maybe say, hey, we made them tap too.
Which they did. They did last night.
You know, and then, you know, you run it back essentially. But I was surprised too because what's her name? Fire and Dawn.
Yeah.
Like you said, they were added a week ago, 2 weeks ago, maybe to it. And then they did like a pre-segment, you know, interview. And I thought so too. I was like, they're not. And then they get the win. That was surprising to me. But with Cargill and Belair, you know, I think eventually a feud's going to happen. They could, you know, turn this into Belair's like, hey, you botched a couple things. You technically tapped out too. They pinned you, you know, that was kind of because they pinned Cargill, right? She was, I'm pretty sure Cargill was the one that got pinned.
I thought it was one of
oh no, it was Baszler that got pinned, right? Baszler got pinned there because they did that super cool move and then they threw them.
Cargill and Belair took them out.
So I mean, you still protect them essentially on that. So that was good. You know, I don't think Fire and Dawn are going to keep the titles for a while. You know, for a long time. They're cool. It was fun. I don't think they're really believable as, you know, the actual champs there. So I think in this Cargill Belair rematch that they'll get, you know, I bet you they'll get it one-on-one. They'll win. And then you'll kind of see the rift go from there.
And Cargill, it's interesting because, you know, sometimes you see, and I was one time clamoring her to face Belair at WrestleMania, but you can see she is kind of green still, despite her, you know, having some experience over there in AEW. And that makes you kind of wonder is because, you know, for this group, it kind of goes back to, again, when like Asuka or Charlotte wins and you just have two of the top names jump into the tag team division. They're not going to keep them there for too long because who in the tag team division is going to beat a single star that's a legitimate single star, two of them, you know? So it's just kind of for the moment. But I thought they were going to build it up a little bit more. And it makes you wonder if they are doing the split too soon because is Cargill ready for her singles run?
No, I don't think she is. I mean, she just doesn't, you know, her couple matches she's had have been squash matches. And I will say, watching the tag team titles, it's been Belair that's carried it. Cargo has some cool moves, things in that, but she's the strength. Whereas Belair is the complete package. She can move great. And I think that's where Cargo's just really stiff, really, really stiff and just kind of can't really, do many moves other than like a body slam type of thing.
Yeah.
And that's really going to hurt her. And, she tries to jump off the top rope and she falls on her face, essentially, almost, breaks her, shoulder or something like that. I think they need to wait a little bit longer, at least till WrestleMania, just to kind of maybe see how it is. But I mean, if they pull the plug at SummerSlam, I think that's way too soon.
There's something going on with those ropes too, between her and Priest, and then last night Breaker, who actually pulled it off pretty well, falling from there.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on with those ropes. But we do have to take a quick break. We'll be right back here on Nuclear at 93.7 The Ticket.
Here you go. Coffee's on me and my new BFF. I thought I was your best friend forever. BFF like best financial friend at Members Own Credit Union. Right now, they're offering $100 when you consolidate or transfer a loan or an existing credit card balance and meet requirements. Plus, you get great rates and free advice from a financial partner that will put you first. That sounds like a match made in heaven. Members Own Credit Union is the type of bestie you can count on. Get started today at memberzonecu.org/BFF. Limitations may apply. Equal housing opportunity.
Early break with Sip and Jake.
The highlight of the first segment easily was Jake being concerned about the sand that would need to be brought into Memorial Stadium if they played softball.
It's for the optics here. It just looks better with sand.
So do you think the infield is just sand, Jake?
I'm wrong with you.
It's not sand.
It looks better with the sand look on it.
It does not.
Yes, it does.
Early break with Sip and Jake from 6 to 8 every weekday morning on 93.7 The Ticket. In every office, there's two types of people. There are those who bring in bagels and those who eat the bagels that someone else brought in. Everybody likes the first person. Be that first person. Weekday mornings at 7:30, you have a chance to win a business box of bagels from Bagels and Joe. All you have to do is shut up, Sipple. 2 questions for you, 2 for Sip. Win and the bagels are yours. Lose, well, you don't want to lose.
You lost Monday. You lost Wednesday. You're a loser.
Shut up, Sipple. Weekday mornings at 7:30, brought to you by Bagels and Joe. To Nuclear Heat with your host, Jake Bakoven, on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
We've switched over to the stream. Of course, the Royals have taken over the airwaves. We still got 20 minutes to talk a little of WWE and Clash at the Castle and WWE Raw, so we'll do just that. I'm Jake Bakoven, your host of Nuclear Heat, alongside Nuclear Heat contributor Augie Pena. And let's just pick up where we left off at Clash of the Castle. We were just talking, already talked about Cody Rhodes defeating AJ Styles in an I Quit match, as well as Fire and Dawn getting the win in the Women's Tag Team Championship. Quickly, Sami Zayn and Chad Gable. Sami Zayn gets the win. Gable has the tease of Otis turning on him, but didn't quite happen. That's like every night of Monday Night Raw the last couple of weeks. So really nothing there for me to speak of.
No, nothing at all. I mean, other than, Maxine, she got hurt, but then it took her like a year to realize she was hurt. I don't know if you saw that when Chad accidentally ran into her.
Oh, yeah.
She like laid there and she's like, oh, I was like, oh, Maxine. I was like, she's another one that's green and maybe needs to go to the development center. But yeah, it's the same thing over and over. Kind of getting a little disappointed with the whole, Chad getting there, but he can't because he had such momentum behind him. And now they're focusing it on the Alpha Academy split. I mean, It's going to be a good story, good story for Otis and that, but kind of a little disappointing.
Well, and the Gable stuff with Otis, I think it's turned in from what was expected to be part of a feud to kind of part of a character. I think that they're just going to kind of continue with it. At some point, they'll boil over. I mean, maybe it was last night. Otis did finally put his hands on Gable, but it still was not enough to where like it wasn't enough to be like that was the moment. Like if that was the moment, they should have done it Clash of the Castle, or they should have done it in a bigger way. So I think this kind of continues. And again, I think it's more of a character thing than a kind of storyline that they're leading up on right now. So we'll kind of see what goes on there. Of course, Chad Gable bloodied and looked knocked out there at the end from the Wyatt Six. So we'll see if that kind of changes up with what they're doing there. Certainly seems to be at the end of Gable versus Sami Zayn. Then we had Bayley against Piper Niven for the women's world title. Not necessarily one on the card I was looking forward to, and nothing really to speak of here. Piper Niven put on enough of a show. Bailey gets the win, and talk about a championship reign that isn't clicking.
Yeah, no, not at all. But I will say, Chelsea Green was very entertaining on the side.
As she always is.
She got ejected, comes back in a luchador mask. You know, she's like, I don't know who this person is, but yeah, they really dropped the ball with Bailey. I mean, I know we've said Cody Rhodes, Bailey's been non-existent. I mean, Naomi twice, Tiffany Stratus, you know, has been in there, but as a triple threat, you know, nothing real. And then Piper Niven. I mean, that's a really, really weak championship reign after what was such a big buildup. So it's been very disappointing. I hope they do something better with her here.
Which again, you do have Tiffany Stratton waiting there to, you know, even if she doesn't beat Bailey, could put on a fantastic feud. And Bailey's great. It's sometimes it's just kind of the booking that you have.
Yeah.
They could have something, you know, really well there if they wanted to strike, but instead they went this route of Piper Niven. You know, they put a lot of people from Scotland. They put all the Scots in the Scotland
all of
match.
them.
And which is fine. It just kind of it made things a little bit more predictable there. And then we already talked a little bit. Damian Priest defeats Drew McIntyre. McIntyre would have won if the ref was not knocked out, but he was knocked out. Thank God another ref comes out to the ring to get the pin. Turns out that ref was CM Punk. Drew McIntyre corners CM Punk in the ref outfit, and Punk kicks him in the nards, which is kind of weird. You know, Punk, I don't know if he's medically cleared yet, if they're doing this, but that was kind of that's a very heel move for the face to do.
Yeah.
So that was kind of odd, but it did, you know, obviously give Priest the win again. To me, something you could see coming from a mile away because they, you know, the CM Punk thing was kind of the background. Even when they had announced this match, it was like, what about CM Punk? And it was going to go this way at some point. But again, to me, not necessarily doing Damian Priest any favors doing this either.
Yeah, he didn't. And stay tuned. CM Punk put out a tweet Friday. He'll be at SmackDown in Chicago
there you go.
to announce something.
He loves Chicago.
Medically, I mean, he kind of has to, right? I heard he's from there or something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, you could see it. It was fun. It was funny. But like you said, it really didn't make Damian look strong. And I was, you saw the interference coming from a mile away, but Damian really needed, I think, a clean victory here. But I love the fact that at the end, you know, the crowd was booing because, you know, obviously this is the second year in a row that Damian Priest has been essentially screwed at Clash of the Castle in Scotland. And Samantha Irving at the end, you know, tried to say, I know it's not. And she got booed. Like they were mad. They were mad.
For Drew McIntyre losing.
Yeah. And all that stuff. So, but, you know, I thought all in all, I thought this was a pretty good match. I thought Damian Priest and Drew, and when Damian did the whole thing over the ropes and got caught, you saw a moment where Drew was kind of like, are you hurt? You know, like that wasn't scripted, and then went from that. So they played it off well. I'm more interested, you know, Damian's going to move on to Seth Rollins and Drew, and well, we'll see about Drew, you know, after last night's Raw, but you know, CM Punk will SummerSlam, you know, that seems like that book it.
Well, we could transition to Raw with that and get into it maybe a little bit, some of the bigger storylines. But it was Drew McIntyre come out, said that he quit and left, and you know, had some WWE management begging him not to go. Kind of weird. We've seen it before. Batista's done that before. You know, Mark Henry had the big retirement celebration that he turned around and didn't end up doing. It's kind of weird that's, you know, I don't know if it just. I see a lot of people think that it's a good move. He would have done better than him going out there again and just yelling and but I don't know. This kind of goes against the whole thing that he's been pushing, you know, and so he's broken down as a character and says that he quits. I was left kind of, I'm wondering, and again, I said it earlier, wrestling, you know, part of it's just keep you wondering and make you want to come back and see what happens.
Yeah.
I am there with that, but I thought that Drew has done such a great job with the CM Punk stuff and just in general. I mean, he's just, since they turned him, that he was in that very dry baby face, same character for 3 years type of situation. Since they turned him heel, and remember, it was a slow turn of is he heel, is he not? But since they've turned him, I thought he's been fantastic. And so I'm kind of, I'm intrigued at least to see what happens next. But right now, questioning the move.
Yeah, and I can see that. And, you know, dang this age of the internet where it was leaked that, you know, he just signed a brand new contract. You know, it's kind of like weird timing, kind of like with the Chad Gable thing. You know, he just signed a new contract, and then is he, you know, he got destroyed by the Wyatt Six. And, you know, with Damian, you know, they'll do this. And I think, you know, like you said, it kind of you can see it both ways because, he could just go on, blame CM Punk again, like he's done the past, 3 months ever since WrestleMania's happened. But like he's been killing it on the mic. So I would have loved to see him do something else. I kind of do like to see when Triple H gets a little bit more involved. It kind of does give it that real feel to it. I'm interested to see what they do. One, Friday, with CM Punk saying he's going to be in SmackDown in Chicago, and then two, what they do at Raw. Like you said, they kind of hooked us there. Now we're going to be like, all right, what's really going on? The smart move. Drew McIntyre doesn't even show up next week. They kind of just play with it, and then boom, he's back, and he's
Surprise
like,
appearance soon.
I think that's kind of what they need at this point.
Yeah, we'll see. Or he might just show up when CM Punk shows up and saying he quit. You could see that happening as well. Some of the other goings on from Monday Night Raw, we mentioned Seth Rollins and Damian Priest. Also, Money in the Bank qualifiers. Again, I always love matches with stakes. Money in the Bank is one of my favorite pay-per-views. And I thought they did a pretty good job of not overdoing it, leaving enough qualifying matches for later episodes and just kind of slow playing. I think they're doing a great job of it. One of the Money in the Bank qualifiers, Zelina Vega, Kiana James, and Io Sky. Io Sky gets the win and locks up her spot to once again to defend her title, basically as woman in the bank, Money in the Bank holder, for the women's side. So I thought that was good and gives Io Sky something to do. To go along with that, they also had Dakota Kai and Kairi Sane lose to Katana Chance and Caden Carter. This after Chance and Carter did not even get an entrance. So it lets you know it's not putting Chance and Carter over. It's telling you that Kai and Sane are struggling to keep up things going. And Io Sky says she's going to want to change there. I feel like that's the wrong move. I know a lot of people for a long time have been saying break up Damage Control, this and that. I just don't know where you go with so many of these characters if you do. And I think it's wise to keep Io Sky doing something in this Money in the Bank. I don't like the fact that they're having the Damage Control struggles, similar to kind of the Judgment Day thing that they've done in the past.
Yeah, and with Io Sky, she's on a winning streak right now. She lost Valkyrie, in the thing, but she was winning. So she's been the strong member. I agree with you. I think there was always going to be that struggle when Bailey, left. But I thought Dakota Kai's done a great job of kind of being their speaking voice, and Io's great wrestler, former women's champion and all that. I think they're really missing Asuka, out due to injury at the moment. But I don't think you pull the plug just yet. Although it would be fun to kind of see a little bit of a feud between them. Io obviously being the leader of this all. But I'm with you. I think they got to wait just a little bit longer before they pull this one.
Well, and I think just because the women's division we mentioned doesn't have a great tag team as of right now, why not have Dakota Kai and Kairi Sane? I thought Dakota Kai has been doing really well since coming back from injury and being the mouthpiece for that group. Kairi Sane is never going to do that. She's going to need to be kind of a tag team player. So I think why not push them? But there it is there. On the men's side, we already mentioned a little bit earlier, Money in the Bank qualifier, Jey Uso defeats Rey Mysterio and Finn Balor. We already talked about how we would have rather had Finn Balor win, and I agree with you as well. I'd rather have Rey Mysterio win in that as well. But they went with Jey Uso. It's not again, we may have our maybe over the Jey Uso thing, and to me, it's just how many chances does he's kind of the he's the good guy that you go to get a cheap pop pretty quickly, and he's going to get his opportunity. But he's never going to win.
Yeah.
So he's kind of stuck in that spot. And so, him being in Money in the Bank, would him getting the briefcase help? It wouldn't get me excited. But again, wrestling's not just for me; it's for everybody. And right now, he is very over that introduction with the crowd. So I think it makes sense to have him in it. I just don't think it made sense to have Finn Balor not in it, as we mentioned earlier. Some of the other goings on. Sami Zayn finds 2 new challengers in Sheamus and Braun Breaker. Has them decide for the Intercontinental title. By the way, they put on a match to see who should be the number 1 contender. And my man Ludwig Kaiser, I'm kind of upset that we haven't had shows these last couple of weeks. I'm a big Ludwig Kaiser fan, and he's kind of getting his push. He pokes his head into this battle here and costs Sheamus an opportunity at the victory. Ends up, they call it disqualification, no contest because of his interference. And then he goes for an ender on Sheamus. He went to pinned his leg, which he'd been targeting in their previous match, up against the steel steps. He gets intercepted on doing that with the spear from Braun Breaker, one of the best spears we've seen in quite some time. And I think this is fantastic. I mean, I think all 3 of these guys contending for the Intercontinental title builds the Intercontinental
Mhm.
title up. I was a little bit, there was some barking in the crowd, but I was a little bit disappointed that Braun Breaker isn't as over to the crowd as he is to me.
Yeah, no, I agree with that, and I think this is a great first like real feud for him. Sheamus, multi-time champ, all that stuff. Luda Kaiser, he's kind of that, Imperium guy. Like you said, you like him, so he's
been getting a push.
Yeah,
lately,
he's
at
got a
least, yeah.
following in there and that, and yeah, I agree with you. I thought the crowd. It's always bad when they have a premium live event overseas, crowd's hyped, come back here, it's kind of dead.
Right. Yeah.
And so I agree with you. Braun Breaker is phenomenal. I think it'll just take time before, the crowd really attaches to him, because really you've only seen job matches between him. So this was the first real, thing we've been able to see on the main roster. And I thought he did a great job.
He
with
did
it,
kill
so.
Ricochet. There was that.
Yeah.
But
Oh yeah, he did do that too, didn't he? I forgot about that.
But yeah, that wasn't a match. He did that. And Ricochet's been written off TV because I think he's leaving WWE.
Mhm.
But yeah, to your point though, like SmackDown, we're not talking about SmackDown at all because it was a B-list show for sure in Scotland. But even though they were just using the bottom of the talent, bottom of the card on SmackDown, the crowd was wild for it.
Yeah.
And so it was, being over there in Scotland, so it is a little bit of deflating coming back to the American crowds, which hopefully that won't last forever. But they've been, Money in the Bank's in Canada, so they're just going to continue this, getting the hot reaction in the crowds, and it feels bigger, it feels better. So it is what it is. America, step it up, I suppose.
Yeah, they got to. Don't let the rest of the world outplay us on that. So,
So we'll see. There are different crowds. There are crowds like Chicago.
Yeah.
There were some wild crowds that don't act like just typical cheer the face type of crowds. And so, there's certain places that they can go. Madison Square Garden's always a special place. So there's places in America that can get that type of heat. It's just, it's not your middle of the, in between pay-per-view appearance in the middle of Iowa or something.
Yeah.
And Nebraska's kind of the same way, unfortunately. But I love when they come to Nebraska, but that's kind of where it's at. Anyways, a few more things to get to as we round out WWE Raw. Backstage, Karrion Kross and the New Day's Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods who were cutting promos. It is what it is. The Xavier Woods, Kofi Kingston break that Karrion Kross is trying to do, maybe it's the right time for a break, but it's not the right feud for it. Like, they could get a much bigger reaction if they do that at some other point. And Karrion Kross, is anybody hurt by Wyatt Six more than Karrion Kross?
Yeah.
That TikTok thing, he's never wins any feuds. Now he's got a whole gang of guys that never win any feuds, never win any matches. And he's supposed to be kind of a scary, dark character. And now he looks like a child's toy that, doesn't win. So I thought it's interesting that they're still got something for him when the Wyatt Six is just going to overshadow him magnificently. The only thing that we didn't mention at this point, as we are wrapping up the show, was Liv Morgan in Dominic's missing cow. Was it a cow jacket?
Yeah, like a vest type
of deal. So they kind of went through that at a Dragon Lee Carlito match, which was number 9 match I think that they've had, and I couldn't tell you who's won the previous ones, but Carlito ends up getting the win. There was some interference. Liv jumps on top of Dominic. You had a little bit of a maybe previewing Vega and Liv again with a little bit of interaction there. By the end of the night, Dom does get his jacket back. As he's unzipping it, Damian Priest comes around the corner because he's getting it. So it's getting hot and spicy there between Liv and Dom, just the way she wants it. Kind of a throwback to a different era in WWE.
Yeah. Hey, they say Eddie Guerrero, rest in peace, is his biological father.
That's right.
He's following in his footsteps there 100%. I catch myself, there. I'm like, we've really left the PG era in the WWE right now. They're just kind of letting Dom and Liv, take that storyline. But it's fun. It's fun because, Rhea Ripley is going to come back eventually. And, something we missed, Liv, I think 2 weeks ago, gave Dom that hotel card.
Oh, yeah.
And Dom's like, I don't want it. Finn Balor, sneaky, grabbed it, put it in his pocket.
To protect Dom, he said.
Yeah, and so she's kind of it is interesting to see. It's kind of weird that that's what you're doing with your world champ,
Liv.
It's
almost outshouting the championship a little bit.
Yeah, but it is fun. It's fun to see. And like we said, Dom is one of the most over heels. You know, he's gonna get his chance here soon, and I love it. It's weird, but that's what the WWE is about. That's what wrestling is. It's weird.
right.
It's not for everybody. It's for us that enjoy it there. But it's a fun little segment that they keep doing every week now.
Yeah, it's part of the fun of tuning into Monday Night Raw to see what the next little play that Liv Morgan will have on Dominic Mysterio. And for what it's worth too, when she does come back, blanking on her name now,
Rhea Ripley.
Rhea Ripley. She's incredible, and the fact that I forgot her name kind of takes away from what I was saying. But is that she's one of my favorite wrestlers right now.
Yeah.
I can't wait till she comes back. And the fact that they're still kind of going on makes you think it's sooner rather than later that she does make that return. And who knows how that'll end. They've got a lot of different questions for you leading into next week of Monday Night Raw. And, of course, this week of SmackDown. That's the best way, as we've mentioned a few times, for wrestling to be. That'll wrap it up this week for Nuclear Heat. We'll be back next week. Thanks for joining us, and have a good night. There's more to come here on 93.7 The Ticket.